His Girl Friday? That's
Yes.
you, right? I hope.
It is, yes. My mum is a big Cary Grant fan, so I was watching films starring Cary Grant from a very young age. And it's because of that this is one of the only films we selected for this episode that I'd seen before. My only other Howard Talks experience having been 1938's Bringing Up Baby, which stars both Cary Grant and a leopard, so is clearly the boss. While Grant is a vital part of this film, though, he's not actually the protagonist of this adaptation of Ben Hecht's play The Front Page. Rather, that's Rosalind Russell's Hildy Johnson, a crack newspaper reporter who's about to give up her career, settle down and have babies with Ralph Bellamy's Bruce Baldwin, an Albany insurance salesman. To this end, Hildy goes to the offices of the Morning Post, a leading newspaper in a fictional unnamed city in New York State, to tell the editor she won't be returning. The wrinkle here is that the editor is her ex-husband, Walter Burns. Burns, played with relish by Grant, might charitably be described as a self-centred, scheming, duplicitous, unscrupulous bastard. And he'd probably thank you for it, being both a bounder and a cad, who isn't about to let his best reporter or his wife just walk away, and certainly not to a cultural backwater like Albany. Despite the film's title, though, Hildy is neither subservient nor servile, and certainly not stupid, and she can see through most of Walter's attempts to sabotage her plans or tempt her to return. Judo of the mind it is then, as Burns uses Hildy's own strengths and weaknesses against her, especially her reporter's instincts and curiosity. To this end, Burns asks her to do a last favour for the paper and cover an upcoming execution, as his best man is unavailable. Naturally, he gave said man an unexpected 2-week holiday to ensure this unavailability. Hildy can't help but be sucked in, and minor issues like Walter having Bruce framed for passing counterfeit notes, or a henchman bodily removing her soon-to-be mother-in-law from the press room, are entirely insufficient to distract her from a tale of political intrigue, corruption, last-minute execution reprieves, and police incompetence. His Girl Friday is simply an enormous amount of fun, with both Grant and Russell in exceptional form, screenwriter Charles Lederer's sizzling dialogue flying back and forth between them like the ball in an Olympic-level table tennis match, their scenes absolutely crackling with energy. Even the fourth wall-breaking moments, like Burns describing Bruce, played by Ralph Bellamy, as looking like that fella in the movies, you know, Ralph Bellamy, or warning the sheriff of the horrible fate suffered by the last person who crossed him, one Archie Leach. Both of these were ad-libs by Grant, add to the enjoyment rather than detracting from it. The dialogue, also contributed by an uncredited Hecht, is the key to the film. The situations are absurd and farcical, but you're unlikely to care because you'll instead be enjoying scenes like the one where the members of the press go at the court have a conversation in newspaper headlines and subheadings. Like Scarface, His Girl Friday begins with text telling us what issues the film's going to be about. To wit, unscrupulous reporters who would do the sort of thing seen later, like plead for an execution to be moved to an earlier time just so they can make the morning editions. Not at all like the fine upstanding journalists we have today. But unlike Scarface, which was a miserable experience, so entertaining is His Girl Friday that almost nothing the film does hits a wrong note for me. Almost. A veiled reference to the consequences attached to the ethnicity of the police officer whose death is at the heart of the intended execution could be simply a political comment, but some scumbag walking into the press room later in the film and starting to talk loudly on the phone about picking an east threatened to sour the whole thing for me. That, fortunately, is fleeting, but it does leave a bad taste. However, if you have any love at all for Cary Grant, then you need to watch this, as here he is entirely Cary Grant, and for once has the foil he richly deserves. Brilliant fun.
I guess, Craig, we need to get you to watch this because we need another tiebreaker because I didn't like this at all.
Oh, well,
to be fair,
it'll happen because I'm big on Cary Grant myself, and I will fast track this into my schedule over the next week.
To be fair, I didn't hate it, but I mean, I read somewhere that the scriptwriters and Hawks were trying to break the record for the amount of dialogue said per minute, it's the highest word per minute count of it. And I think in a lot of ways it's mistaken quickness in terms of velocity for quickness in terms of sharpness of wit. A lot of it just didn't really land for me. I didn't think a lot of the jokes were particularly funny. And at the end of the day, this is a screwball comedy set against the background of a mentally ill person being illegally executed. Ha So I found it a little bit hard to get into the spirit of it, to be honest with you. I guess if you can get away with a lot of that and the sheer manipulativeness sort of on display from pretty much all the characters, then and appreciate it for what it is, then you might get a bit more joy out of it. But no, to be honest, it kind of bounced off me. I don't find myself being particularly annoyed by it or anything like that. It's just a film that I watched and went, yeah, that's not for me, and I didn't really get a great deal of enjoyment out of it at all. So yeah, no thank you. The central performances are quite charismatic. I think it does have that going for it. I think it looks pretty good. It moves very quickly, as obviously evidenced by the dialogue. I can imagine there's a lot of people who get a lot of joy out of this, but yeah, I am not one of those people, so c'est la vie.
Well, this might be shaping up to be quite an interesting episode, Olin.
You took the words out of my mouth, yes.
Yes. Well, let's see if this continues. I mean,